Hello, this is Mr. B, and I was going to give you some directions on how to work through this activity called the Google Sheets Ratio Tables and Graphs. This is available to you. If you open this up, it'll come to this screen right here. Just kind of a blank screen for you to do some practice on and to get familiar with some of the operations on Google Sheets. You'll notice, first of all, down here at the bottom where you see my cursor, there's different tabs. We're in introduction right now, just a blank sheet. There's some instructions, and then these are different activities here. There's canned food drive, that's one activity. And then if you come further over, there's these little arrows right here, and if we click on the right arrow, we'll see other little tabs up here as well: field trip, miles, and cats. So on our introduction right here, usually I'll take this time to teach some real general basic Google Sheets skills, like how to create patterns, how to write in a formula, and we're pretty familiar with that. So I think we're ready to move on to instructions. So click on the tab down here for instructions, and it gives an example of what we're going to be doing today. So we'll have a word type of problem, a situation like we see in the yellow box right here. So Joe is 10 years older than his sister Maria. So we're going to use X as a variable to represent Maria's age and fill in the table to show Joe's possible age. Well, if you recall, we cannot use X because Google Sheets does not recognize a letter of the alphabet as a variable. Now there's written information in here. You can read this. You're not watching this video, but I'm going to be going over most of these ideas right here. Here are step 1, step 2, these type of things for instruction on how to fill in a table. Don't forget that when we are typing in an expression, we can't use the variable. We'll have to use a cell address for the number that we want to replace that variable with, and then there's also an equal sign that we start with. So let's fill in this table here. We know Joe is 10 years older than Maria. So no matter what Maria's age is, Joe is going to be 10 years more than that. So we have to think, what is the expression that would represent Joe's age right here? So we would think, well, okay, so we would say Joe's age is X representing Maria's age plus 10. So X plus 10, or Maria's age plus 10. In Joe's age column here, we're going to type in our expression. So we start with, of course, what do we start with? Equal sign. That tells Google Sheets that, hey, I'm going to put in an expression here and I want you to do the math. The variable is this column. These are the numbers that change as we go down the table. That's what a variable is. A variable represents a number that can change. So that's representing Maria's age here. So we want to put in our first variable, which would be D10. You can just click on the box like I did, and it fills in automatically. And what do we want to do with Maria's age? We want to add 10 to it each time. So I'm just going to hit enter right there. It will do the calculation for me. And then it not only does that, but it suggests that we fill in the others with the same information. So I can go ahead and click the check mark right here, and it will auto fill it in. Isn't that great? We're so easy. Now, if I didn't do that, so I'm going to click off here. Like, let's say I didn't fill it in, we can still just click on this box right here. So I highlight this box and then grab our little solid square down here and then drag it, and it will fill in automatically then. So you can, if you kind of click off and you've lost that auto fill box, you can always just click and drag that little square to fill it in. So here is a completed table right here. Down here, it's going to ask you for the equation. So I want you to type in the equation, which is basically this right here, using X instead. And also, you'll notice over here where the f of x, you see it, fx right here, we're going to not say fx, we're going to say y, and it'll be y equals x plus 10. So really, this is going to guide our equation right here. I'm just going to type in y equals x plus 10. And now this doesn't look very nice to me. Like, I want this to be centered right in the middle. So we're going to do some formatting changes. To formatting just means change the way something looks. So we can format up here. There's all these format options. We can even change the color and the border around it. So here is the alignment. And what I want to do is align it in the center. You'll notice when I click center, now that my equation moved over to the center. But I also want it in the center vertically. So I'm going to click on vertical align and then click center right here. So now it is nice. It's in the center. Maybe I'll put some spaces in here. I can change the font just right up here. Arial. Let's do Indie Flower. How's that? And I can change the size of it, of course, just like a normal a Word document or a PowerPoint or something you're familiar with. You can change the formatting to make it suit. All right, so we've got our table, we've got our equation. All right, let's make a graph of this information right here. Go ahead and select the table, highlight everything, including the labels, and then we're just going to move up here. Now, there's a couple ways to get to the graph. You can say insert, and then you're going to look for a chart. So they call it a chart instead of a graph. You can click this, and it's got this little icon. It looks like a graph right here, a little bar graph. Now, you can also find this icon. If you come up here to this bar, you can find this little icon. Sometimes I need these 3 dots. Sometimes it'll appear up here, sometimes it won't. If not, just click those 3 dots and it gives you more icons, and one of those is the insert chart. So you can either go insert up here, or you can find it along here, click insert chart, and it is going to think about the information that you highlighted in the table. And it has lots of different charts on here. And it's going to suggest this chart right here, this type of chart, which is a good chart to have. Now, I don't want it sitting right there, so I'm going to move it around here. We can just kind of move it out of the way. I can make it smaller. Notice that it's already titled Joe's age versus Maria's age. So it kind of read this. It knew what we were doing, and it has created this graph right here. Sometimes it will suggest a different graph, like a bar graph, and we don't want a bar graph. So we need to change the graph sometimes. So we can go to these 3 dots, so we can hit edit chart, and scatter chart is what we want. That's kind of this line chart right here. But if we didn't have that, if maybe it put a line, maybe it pops up and it gives you this line graph, or maybe it's a bar graph or something. Well, you can click on our chart type, scroll down, and you'll find it usually scattered. On scatter. Okay, we had a little technical difficulty, but I'm back here. So if we wanted to just change it back to scatter plot, you would scroll down, click on scatter plot, and it will take care of that right there. Okay, and then you can exit out. There are some other things that we can do to our chart. So if you click on customize right here, now we can change a lot about the chart. You could change the background color, the border color, and let me kind of click on that. So if you click on this little arrow, it will give you options for the chart style. If you click on this arrow, we can change the axis and the titles. So that would allow you to rewrite Joe's age and Maria's age and write something else in place. It'll also change, you'll be able to change the color of the words in your titles and in your y-axis and x-axis. You can make it bold print. This is the formatting that we talked about earlier. Formatting, changing the way it looks. You can do that. The series, don't worry about legend. You don't have to worry about horizontal axis. If we take a look at this right here, same thing. Changing this is the Maria's age right down here. That would be changing the format of that. Vertical axis, same thing. Changing the format. You can also change the minimum value and maximum value. So maybe my table, I just want the table to go from 1 to 100 instead. And so I can change minimum value. I want to go to 1, or actually 0 probably is a good minimum value, and 100. And now it'll change how my scale is. Now it's from 0 here all the way up to 100 for Joe's age. And that changes the way my graph looks. Now it's kind of flattened out here. So maybe that's not a very good idea, because I want to see it kind of move more up. Okay, that's our vertical axis. You can, the grid lines, you can put some more lines in there to see different lines, but you can mess around with that. You don't have to do, you don't have to show these at all. So I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. I've got some lines in there. And so that is our, oops, sorry, that is our graph right here of these two. You'll notice this does not make a straight line. It's kind of moving up like this and kind of flattening out. So we don't have a very straight line with this. Others may have a straight line. So sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. Okay, that's the basics of this. So what you'll want to do for each of these, now budget's going to be different. So you can skip over budget for today. Okay, skip budget. Just go to canned food drive, and then field trip, miles, cats. They're all the same. They have a table. You need to write an equation and then create a graph just like I did right there. All right, thank you.